Hello there, Mac users and Mac friends. I am here again today to solve a problem I've had. So I've been, trying to find a place to put some hobby projects and, making lots of AI generated code and, where can I deploy it? So I was listening to a podcast called uh, DevTools.fm, and they were interviewing Greg from Disco. And so Disco sounded like a fairly simple tool I could try to use to deploy my web apps. And its value proposition is you will pay less for your hosting bills. And so I felt it was a good fit for some hobby projects. And so I started to dig into the documentation and here to go through on how you set it up. The first thing you're going to need is a server. So I created one at DigitalOcean. This is one that I can SSH into. It's a virtual server VM. I had to upgrade it to about 4 gig of RAM and 80 gig disk as I started to put multiple projects on it. So I think that's going to be around 24 bucks a month if I have it running all the time. So keep that in mind. Then once we have the hardware we're running on, we just have to set up the domain name. So I've already set up the domain name, and I'll go through that later. And then a web project. So for the web project, I'm just going to use their example Rust site, which is just a simple hello world, to show you how to get it deployed. And once you get it deployed, you can commit the code, and boom, it'll automatically deploy it. It will restart it. There'll be very little downtime, even zero downtime. Very cool. So let's go and get through how to install the command line. So what you have here is a command line CRL command to run. Okay, so just copy and paste that into your terminal, and you can run it. And you have to run it at 2 places, right? You have to run it on your local, and you have to run it on the server. So we'll run it on my local, put in the right password, and let it go. And then you do the same thing on the server. So first I'm going to log into my server, which I've set up, and boom, I can get in to my server right about now. Okay. And then we just paste it. So this tool is should already be installed. So it may not take as long as usual, but we'll just make sure that we have the latest version. So it's Disco 0.5.48 running on the server, and Disco 0.5.48 running on the client. So that matches up, which is a pretty good thing to have. Okay, now we'll go and scroll down to the next part. So I think we've checked the version. Seems to be working. So let's go to the server setup. All right, now when you do the server setup, you actually have to do most of the commands on the client, and the client will talk to the server to set it up. It's using Ubuntu, so make sure you choose that when you when you set up your DigitalOcean Droplet. And then we're just going to go to Disco init, and we're going to copy this into the terminal. And DigitalOcean uses root. Okay, and I've set up the server as disco-server. So I've set this up already in my Cloudflare .projops.io. I'll press return, and it should connect over SSH, starting to get in there and do the handshake that will set up the server. You can see there's a progress bar going along, and that should run to set up the server. Already done, so quite quick. Once you've installed it, then we can see here on the server that there is a Disco folder that it created, which was not there previously, as I had deleted it. Okay, so it's supposed to be set up there and on the server, and then now we have to add our GitHub. Okay, so we can just copy and paste the GitHub command here. This will do the connection to the GitHub, and so you do this on your local, okay, because it's going to open up a browser window. Okay, so it's asking me, is it okay to open up the browser window? I'm going to say yes, and our browser window is opened up here, and it's created an app. So this app is, I think, kind of their local app, so it's called Disco Copy Haircut is the app that it's created. I'm going to connect it, and then I want to give it access to only select repositories. So I'm going to select the repositories here that contain Disco. So there's a Rust site, and we might as well add a Swift one, which I'm working on as well. We'll install it. Okay, and so Disco Copy Haircut has access to those repositories. This is, can control it. So let's go and close this. All right. Then what we'll do is once we have that activated, we should be able to go on to the next step of adding our Rust project. Okay, so there is documentation on the Rust project here. So if we see here, documentation for doing this means you need to, set up all the things we did previously, and then we go on to the steps here. Okay, and so I'll jump into my Cloudflare settings here, and so you can see that what I've done is I've taken the IP address from DigitalOcean, and I've set the Disco server host name to point to that DigitalOcean server under projobs.io. On top of that, every new site I'm creating has a host name that's a CNAME pointing to the disco-server.projobs.io. And one key point I found on Cloudflare is that you have to turn the proxy status off for now. This does not work. If it's on Disco, I think I was getting infinite redirect. Hopefully that's fixed in the future. Okay, so now let's go back to the steps. So this is set up. Then, you've got the example repository. It's forked. This repository is the example Rust site, and it's under my GitHub. Okay, so now that we've got that repository forked, we're going to run these commands here. Okay, so let's copy and paste the Disco projects add. Oh, wrong terminal. All right, so Disco projects add. We are then going to say -- name, and I'm just going to keep it the same name as the GitHub name, and so it's the same name as my folder, and I've checked out the site here. All right, now let's go and do -- GitHub, and then you're going to do your username, okay, and then the repository name, which in this case for me is the same as the folder. Okay, and then the domain name that you want to associate with it. So this domain name is going to be, as we looked here, it will be the Rust example. .projops.io. Okay, now let's hit return and hope it works. Okay, so it says the project's added, and then now the next step is it's actually going to deploy. So basically it's setting up a Docker instance, I think. It's checking out the code, building the project. So you get to see this whole thing happen. And I think it should be pretty quick for Rust. I think it didn't take so long. But while it's compiling, let's go and see actually what is very interesting. So I've been doing everything from the command line now. While that's compiling, I'm going to go and show you the web interface for Disco. And so what you can do is you just go to disco.cloud, and there have a button to launch your first app. Okay, so this is going to bring up their hosted service, so you can use their hosted service and pay them. But since it's open source, they also offer this free one, and just go down here and say self-host now for free. And then this gives you some of the same documentation we went through on the website. And so we've made it to the initialize your server part. Next part, though, is about giving the web UI access to the server. So this one here, it's already customized it for my, my username. So from GitHub. So probably it had remembered my GitHub authorization, so you might need to authorize GitHub for yourself before you do this. But now I'm going to just copy the invite, and I'm going to go here. Okay, so you can see on this side the deployment has finished. So it says deployment complete, and it made the example. So we'll go check that out in a second, but let's first just paste this before we forget. So this is going to create an invite link. Okay, so we have this invite link here, and I'm going to copy that invite link onto the number 6 step here. Okay, so once you paste the invite link, add instance, and then it should tie things up on the server. So now you can see I've ended up on the Disco server here. I have some projects listed here, which is the example Rust site we did. You can see that there's some logs and CLI access and things like that, and some stats. So I think first we'll stick with the projects. If we click on the project, we see the deployments of that project, and we're down another sub menu. So this is where we can see what's happening with the deployments. And if you click here, it's going to take you to GitHub for a diff, and you can see the logs of what's happening. So basically what we just saw in the terminal, we can also see here. And so we know it's successful. And if it's in progress, it'll show you that. Okay, you can change environment variables. There's logs, there's services, there's the domain. So you can see this is the domain we had set up. You can add others. So a lot of the command line tools that Disco supports can also be done from the web interface, which is quite nice. Now I'm going to head over. So now the next thing is to take this domain name. If it loads, I'm going to open a new tab, and you can see the new tab is loaded with a hello world from Disco. That makes it kind of complete in what we've done. Now, I mean, the cool thing, some of the cool things I still should show you though. So let's just take a look at the command line again. All right, so now we're in our Rust site. I'm going to just do Z and open this site in our our text editor. And then what we have here is we can go into our Rust source code, and we have a hello world. So we can change this to hello world from Disco using Rust. Okay, and if we save that, we can then commit. Okay, I'm going to just generate a, oh, sorry, I need to make sure that this gets tracked. Okay, so we tracked it, we're going to commit it, we're going to push it. Okay, now when we head back to the back end and we look at deployments, we see a new deployment has been created. It's preparing that deployment, and we can see the logs. So it was queued, it started, and now it's doing everything again that we saw before. And there's quite a few dependencies for Rust web apps. Rust takes a little while to compile, so we're going to have to wait a little bit. Now, so as you can see, we've gotten it. So, we commit, we push, deployment happens while it's at, and you can see that the commit is up here on my GitHub. Deployment is happening. And when it finishes, we can then, see the change in the string. So I think it's like, kind of the developer experience a lot of people expect these days from things like Vercel and whatnot, but you have control of your server, and you can manage it. So it's quite seems like good, especially for hobbyists. And there's ways to scale up projects as well. So I guess we could go back to the server here while it's doing the compile, and you can see there's a stats screen. Go through this web interface a bit. You can see kind of what it's running here. So it's got the Rust web app, it's got a web server that's running, and then the Disco Damien is running there, and you can see how much memory it's taking and the percentage CPU. If you need a database, they have a plugin for a database. I haven't tried that yet. That can be another video. And I think you can, if you really need to do if you have the web access and you need to set up the command line access, there's another instance here. I think they're trying to merge these things together. We can also just try to set up our GitHub integration here as well. I haven't played with this completely yet, so let's see what this one does. It tried to open a window. So it's creating another GitHub app, which is strange because I created one with the command line, and so I think maybe the command line and the web interface are still a little bit separate. But if we add these here, I guess it will allow us to deploy them here. So maybe let's refresh this page and see what happens. Oh, it didn't. I thought we gave access. Okay, sorry, it looks like something went wrong there. We'll have to check it later. I just want to check back and see it's still using this Actix Web is the Rust framework for web deployments. So I think we're getting close because that seems to be the last dependency. Now we're compiling our site. And looks like we've got it done there. So I think you can see that it's starting the service for the second deployment. So it looks like it creates a different service for each deployment and then stops one and starts one. Yep, so started this, stopped that one, deployment complete. Let's go back. So we said hello world from Disco. So we should have an updated message now. So hello world from Disco using Rust. Okay, so as you can see, commit, deploy. I think maybe there's some optimization that can be done for deployments, but I mean that's a language-specific thing, and I think we'll need to figure out, that example for Rust. Maybe there's some optimizations to the Docker image or something that can be made to make deployments happen much quicker each time. Okay, so I think this is a pretty good overview of Disco. I'll probably just be using it for some hobby projects. If you do, be sure to put some comments on YouTube and let me know what you're doing with it. It's under active development, kind of new, so a few rough edges, but I mean, looks like it has some potential and looks like a fun project to use. Okay, thanks for joining, and I will talk to you next time.